When we think of the Beatles, the names John Lennon and Paul McCartney are almost inseparable, the iconic songwriting duo that defined a generation. Yet behind the smiles, harmonies, and chart-topping hits was a rivalry that often simmered just below the surface. Lennon, despite years of collaboration, wasn't shy about saying he thought some of Paul's songs leaned toward the overly sweet and shallow. And there was one track in particular that he dismissed as, in his eyes, nothing but contradictions with no real meaning. That track was Hello, Goodbye. To casual listeners, it's an upbeat, catchy Beatles classic, one that's been played at weddings, parties, and on radios for decades. But Lennon saw it differently. To him, it was a calculated attempt to craft a commercial hit rather than a heartfelt piece of art. McCartney, however, had a much deeper explanation. He considered Hello, Goodbye a light-hearted exploration of one of life's oldest and most universal themes, duality. The idea that everything in life comes in pairs, good and bad, high and low, stop and go. But Lennon wasn't convinced. He believed the song's only redeeming quality came at the very end, the spontaneous jam session where the band ad-libbed and played with freedom in the studio. Lennon himself jumped on the piano, adding a raw, loose energy that, in his mind, gave the track whatever charm it had. This difference in perspective was more than just about one song, it was symbolic of the growing creative rift between the two. And after the Beatles split in 1970, those differences would only become more obvious. McCartney wasted no time forming his new band, Wings, and went on to fill stadiums across the globe. Hits like Jet and Listen to What the Man Said proved he could dominate the charts without Lennon. Meanwhile, Lennon released a string of solo records before stepping away from the spotlight in 1975 to focus on raising his young son Sean with Yoko Ono. According to Lennon's close friend and confidant Elliot Mintz, Lennon's feelings during this time were complicated. On one hand, he spoke warmly of Paul and the memories they shared. On the other, he privately admitted to feeling stung by Paul's continued success. Seeing McCartney praised, embraced by fans, and selling out arenas left Lennon feeling like the world had moved on from him. McCartney's Too Many People slyly criticized Lennon for breaking in two, the lucky break they'd had with the Beatles. Lennon's How Do You Sleep? Fired back with some of his most biting lines, mocking Paul's music as Muzak and suggesting that looks were the only thing keeping him relevant. To outsiders, it was shocking to see two friends, and former bandmates, airing their grievances in such public ways. Mintz likened it to two high school kids fighting on Instagram, except instead of snarky comments, these two traded global hit records filled with thinly veiled jabs.